So in the previous videos, we talked about listening skills. I'll tell you, listening by itself is not enough to get to the sale. It's important, but it's not enough to get you to the sale. So in this video, we're really going to nail down how to master your presentation skills. So let me give you a story about a great realtor I met 10 years ago. I explained everything I wanted in terms of what I'm looking for. And my previous engagement with another realtor was really just a dud. This one really listened to exactly what I wanted. She said, I have just the home that I want to show you. She brought us into a cul-de-sac to this mansion up on a hill that had all the bedrooms we needed, plus more. It had a beautiful yard, a spectacular neighborhood, and we both looked at the realtor and said, you nailed this. This is exactly what we're looking for. That is a great presentation. And that's the level you want to get at, where your client looks at you and says, let's go. This is exactly what I needed from you. Thank you. Where do you need me to sign? And I'll tell you from my own experience on the home sale that I just told you about, what the realtor did is obviously she listened to us in terms of what our needs are and what our dreams are, what our goals are, but she delivered with such passion. She was excited to bring us to this home. We didn't go to 50 homes that day. We went to one because based on what we said we were looking for, she had a feeling that this was ideally what we wanted. As a salesperson, isn't that what you want with your clients? You want them, after you give your presentation, to say, that is exactly what we need. You listened to us, you paid attention, and now you presented us with exactly what we need for what we talked about, our business, our goals, and thank you. Now, a lot of folks just say, well, Neil, how do I prepare for a presentation? Because I like to, this is them telling me, I like to just show up and wing it and just have faith that I'll really nail it. I will tell you two words not to ever use going forward, and you'll never do it after my training sessions. We never wing it. If you want to create and deliver a fantastic, compelling, believable, credible presentation, you have got to rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. And what do I mean by that? I want you to think of your favorite movie and think about the actors in that movie. Everything the actors said was rehearsed. It was scripted and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed over and over again. For example, there's a movie that was shot in Boston with Denzel Washington. There's one scene that took 30 seconds. He rehearsed it 3,000 times, so it's flawless. And that's exactly what my clients get out of these training sessions. How to nail a presentation where it's so believable, everything happens after that. Number one, you've got to understand exactly what you want to say. And I always like to open up with a brief story, not a 15-minute, but a 1, maybe a 2-minute story to grab their attention. The second part of this is really, what do you want to say? What's going to be compelling to grab their attention based on their needs? And finally, what's your wrap up? What do you want them to walk away with? Let's go back to the realtor, right? She opened up with, my goal is to help my clients find their exact dream home. So that's the opening. Based on what you've told me, Neil, these are the features you're looking for, and I believe I have found the home that fits exactly your dreams and your goals. And finally, after we visited the home, the third part of the presentation was, well, are you ready to move into your dream home? So opening story, the middle based on their needs, and finally a wrap, a close to close the sale. One of the best strengths of the best sales reps I've ever met is that they're really good storytellers. Just last week in the Seaport in Boston, I met with a team that looked at me and said, well, storytelling, Neil, it's so hard for me. And I said, well, let's just pause for a moment. Let's go around the room, share your best customer success story, and keep it to 2 minutes or less. Within 1 hour, we had 10 great stories that were very brief, a minute or two. Now, here's the beauty of storytelling. If Jim had a great story with a client success, and Jim's one of my colleagues, I could easily use his story and say, you know, with one of our other customers, this is the challenge they faced, and this is what we speaking on behalf of the company, this is what we did for them. In another example, this customer was really challenged with this, and the solution provided them was XYZ. So you could use other people's stories, and you don't have to say, well, this story is from Clarice, and this one's from Henry. Once you start sharing the story, it's on behalf of your company. This is what we did for them. And by the way, some of you are thinking, well, yeah, but, Neil, I'm going to get objections. Yes, you will, and you can also rehearse for those. So just last week, I was with a client in New England, and they wanted to do a workshop on dealing with objections. And here's what we did. We listed the 10 most common objections. And from what I have found after training 50,000 salespeople, there are not 50 key objections. There are generally a half dozen that come up repeatedly. So your role, and you can do this with some of your colleagues, or you can do it with me, is to make a list of the most common objections and the best, most effective answers. And that is also something you rehearse. So during a presentation, when someone throws out an objection, and they will, you are so prepared for it, you just have an answer for it. It's not an answer, it's the best answer based on brainstorming and coming up with what would really satisfy their needs. So yes, you will get objections, and if you prepare for them, it's a moot point. So one of the most common objections many sales reps get is, well, I have to think about it. Now, a rookie sales rep would say, okay, thank you, goodbye, have a good day. No. Right away, I'm going to put my listening skills back on, because maybe there's something I wasn't very clear, or as clear as I could be about it. So I'd look back and say, well, Grant, tell me more about that. What do you have to think about? Because maybe I wasn't very clear. So Grant, what's on your mind? Because I want them to open it up, and then I'm listening, right, again, and probing. And ideally, at the end of that little conversation, like, okay, now I completely understand. Let's move forward. So if someone gives an objection, don't just give up. Be prepared for it. And again, that ties into rehearsal, but also being prepared and expecting an objection. So now you've seen the 30,000-foot view of Neil Wood in consultative selling and listening skills and presentation skills and things like that. In the next video, what you're going to learn is really how I facilitate these training sessions, whether they're a half day, a full day, or several days based on your needs as a client. So join us in the next video and you'll learn more.